Hi everyone, my name is Maria Elisa Ayerbe and I'm here with Schwabe Digital. This time I'm going to be introducing a little bit of Orange Clip. Let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, so Orange Clip. So it's pretty fun how Ryan, the developer and creator of Schwabe Digital, refers to as Orange Clip being inspired by that infamous DAW that had a specific clipper, which was a default plugin, and it created this very specific sound that defines the type of productions that come out of that DAW. And they wanted to recreate that, which I thought it was pretty awesome. To be completely honest with everyone, I've never worked using that infamous DAW, so I wasn't really sure about what he was referring to when he told me about this idea for this plugin. However, I do know that every time I get, especially back in the day when I would get a demo coming from that DAW, there was something there was a pumping sort of drive in the sound from those like mixes or masters that it would be really hard for me to replicate. And I always need to end up using a lot of plugins just to sort of like create that specific thing. Years later, I find out that this is actually just a stock plugin. So I thought it was pretty cool to recreate that, but I wasn't really sure exactly what I would be expecting. So when we're checking out the plugin, it resembles a little bit of obviously all the features and some of the preferences and the look coming from Gold Clip. You also find the ceiling, which is presented as a slider that is not dependent on the gain. Both input and output gain, just like in Gold Clip, can be linked together in case you feel like you want to keep your levels pretty relative. Also, you will find a wet and dry sliders, which I think it's pretty cool with the chance of soloing them. In this orange, basically the way it's described, it's like it alters the shape of the knee of the clipper. So the more orange you apply, the closer you are for it to resemble like hard clipping. And on the other hand, you'll be going to a much soft knee version of it. If you notice now when you hover your mouse through some of the different preferences, you'll be getting an explanation of what it does before for Gold Clip, you need to actually activate it. Other features that have been pretty well incorporated from Gold Clip into Orange Clip, you also have oversampling from, in this case, you can turn it off and then go all the way to extra pristine, and you have both real-time and offline quality. Linear phase does not introduce any changes to the timbre of the sound, but may slightly augment the transient response. In minimum phase, slightly changes the timbre of the sound, but perfectly preserves transient response. I find the difference very subtle, but I generally stick to linear phase. If I'm going to be working on a drum track, I sometimes switch to minimum. In this case, I want to do just that, so I'm going to keep it up. And then we're going to be listening to the plugin and understanding, obviously, I already know extra pristine is what I'm going to be liking, but let's go ahead and test it out for sure. So this is a track that I have used before. This is by Maga Cordova, Mil Gracias, a track that I co-produced and mixed and mastered. This is the mix version, soft, meaning that I removed all possible clippings and additional harsh limiters. This is usually what I would send to a mastering engineer, and this is what I use to master this track myself. So let's check it out. Bypass, plugin in Bypass. Okay, so I thought, given that we're going to be using this plugin in a sort of like a old-fashioned way, I thought this track, it's got some like old, like 2000 Kylie Minogue's kind of like club tracks sound. So I thought it was going to be pretty cool for it. So let's go ahead and default it and turn it on and see what it does. Not bringing up down the ceiling slider, not pulling up the input fader, just let the plugin do its thing. okay, we can tell it's barely clipping. I do feel a sense of increased perceived loudness, but there isn't a lot of excitement or other features added. So let's push it forward and maybe understand what the infamous DAW famous clipper was doing. Okay, okay, I get it. Yeah, so definitely there was a obvious increment in the punch coming from that kick, which is not undesirable at all. It's very smooth, it's very clubby. So this is, I know what they're getting with the whole throwback for the infamous DAW back in the early stages of the plugin some years ago. It's very clubby now. It feels a lot more clubby, less pop than what the mix was suggesting. And I can also hear how the high end has been like flattened. I don't know how to explain it. Like the clipping is flattening the end, which in the manual, Schwab Digital describes that as like a crushing of the high end, which is kind of like I feel to me it's more flattened, but it's not in an undesirable way. Many clippers tend to destroy by the character of the clipping, which is literally just the trimming or the flattening of those transients that are cutting through. So it's pretty interesting how, knowing that because I'm watching the transfer graph and it's already doing hard clipping, it's not really as aggressive as I would have thought. And it's funny because even when the plugin is at its hardest stage of that hard knee, somehow it's like everything is controlled, which is crazy because you notice how I'm like clipping at 6.1 dB. That would be a lot, but for some reason it is not. I wonder how it sounds like when I add extra pursuing quality, just for the fun of it. For some reason, I like the vibe more of what's going on at high oversampling. But yeah, I mean, it's just quality all the way. It's a very efficient plugin. It's very clean, very, very neat. Again, for the fun of it, I'm going to change to minimum phase and start experimenting with the wet and dry and slider to see if we wanted to incorporate this, not as the one plugin for our mastering process, but just like as another plugin in our chain, how would it sound more of in a parallel version of it? What it does to that kick and how it's like you're clipping, but at the same time you're exciting, but at the same time it's like something else is dipping in and it's so loose in the middle. It feels very, very natural. This is a great plugin. Go again to Schwab Digital's website, download it, test it. I think you're going to be incredibly pleased. Congrats to the Schwab Digital team. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.